Pele, welcome to the Personal Best podcast.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So nice to have you here. I know that this has been a long time coming in a way, so it's great that we're finally sitting down today. But I want to jump straight into it. And you said your goal is to help men build fitness, strength, and a mindset that lasts. Why is that your goal, and why do you do what you do?
First, thanks for having me. Great to be here. I've been thinking a lot about this recently. I think the main reason is that I put so many units of energy and resource into learning myself about health, about fitness, and many years of trials, tribulations, podcasts, books, conversations, and research. And I got to the point that I realized everything I was trying was kind of getting me nowhere. I put so much time into trying to be better, trying to optimize every area of life within health and fitness and wellness. But I was bumping up against the brick wall because I was doing too much. So the reason that I'm so passionate about trying to get guys in great physical mental shape now is because the system and the blueprint really is quite simple. It's hard. You've got to be disciplined. Obviously, there's a lot we can kind of unpack here. But when it comes down to it, helping guys realize that you haven't got to do everything right now. You can scale back from the kind of main goal or the overall trajectory and focus on today. And from seeing so many guys over the last 10 years of coaching progress in their financial aspects of life, in their relationships, with their mindset, their health, through following a simple but tried and tested structure, just fills me with kind of more passion and fire to go and promote that way of life. And over the years of me struggling and trying to do everything but kind of getting nowhere, it reminded me how simple it can be when you have the correct guidance and the structure. And that's what just kind of lights me up.
Yeah, I guess if you've tried so many different things yourself to optimize, your health and your fitness and your well-being, you can then take the key lessons from that and help simplify it for other people, because I'm sure there's so many people that have been in the same boat that you have. But for you, where did that desire to, I guess, feel better and improve yourself come from, do you think?
So if we go way back, I had 2 knee operations. I was living in Spain, Barcelona, playing football, semi-pro. I had 2 knee operations, and obviously out there, when you're an athlete at that age, your life is kind of handed to you on a plate.
How old were you?
I moved when I was 15, came back when I was 19, or just shy of 19. Your whole structure of a day is laid out for you. You wake up, at this time you eat, you train, you sleep, you study. When I had my knee operations, there was no training. And that's the first time that I was kind of left in the compound without the guys, without my teammates. And I started to understand that and really look into mindset and I was trying to be conscious of where I allowed my thoughts to go with regards to shit, I'm injured, I'm here on a contract, I can't play, someone's taking my position, to what can I optimize and improve now? And that obviously was my mindset, because I was unable to move, unable to walk, unable to run for months. And at that point now, I realized that we have power over where our attention goes. So that started with mindset. That was a big passion of mine in psychology. And then from there, just branching out to different areas of health and wellness and really discovering that you can do anything you want, but not everything at one time. You can optimize nutrition, health, mindset, psychology, etc., but you can't do it all. And I started to map out in my head the blueprint of if I went back to day one, what would I prioritize on day one compared to day 365, compared to 5 years on? And what would be the most simple structure and the blueprint to follow, or the roadmap to follow, to optimize all areas of life, but over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And seeing and feeling the benefits, and also people started to notice it around me, that's when I was like, this actually works.
But that's really amazing at a young age that you didn't fall into the kind of victimhood mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm injured, I can't play football, and instead chose to view it as a lesson and, looked at how you could improve your mindset. I feel like not everybody would be able to do that at that age as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's like a devil and the angel on your shoulders, right? When things aren't going your way, there's that voice of why me? That person's ahead of me. Just like you say, victim kind of mindset, which all of us have sometimes temporarily, but I think it's noticing that is the first thing, having awareness over that voice, kind of labeling that voice, and then showing yourself by doing that you do have power over that, and you can turn the volume down on that voice and turn the volume up on the other voice, rather than allowing it to become an echo chamber. And it's when you're around people that are just generally quite negative, you just leave them, personally, leave the conversations with them feeling kind of frustrated. You're how is this person so negative? How are they such a pessimist? Because it rubs off on you. Rather than you're around someone, you leave feeling inspired. And it's like, what are these things that separate A from B? And it's that positive, enthusiastic aura just about life. And I think when we understand that you do have power over that, not all the time, but most of the time, it's very empowering.
Definitely. Yeah, I 100% agree. And so how did you make the transition from playing football semi-professionally to then entering the coaching space and the more fitness side of things?
So truth is, I had no idea. It sounds silly now that PT was even a career. I always had PT as a footballer, but it was purely performance, right? Like, it's not about how you look. It's not about what you enjoy. It's like you go to the gym to train, S&C, strength conditioning, to then go and perform better on the pitch. So from 7 until 19, I was getting trained by coaches, but I never really thought of it as a profession. And then had my operation number 1, came home to London for my rehab, 7 months, went back out. It was crazy, exact year to the day, other knee, same operation.
No.
And then I was told by the surgeon, like, you can crack on for sure, but most likely if you're 19 now, you've had 2 knee ups, same operation on either knee, there's a high chance you're going to have recurring injuries. And it was a tough decision to make, like, to move home and kind of like knock it on my head. But at the same time, I'd given my life to sport. I've missed out on a lot of stuff over the years. And I thought now's the time to either commit to trying to be as good as I can, knowing I'll never go high level pro because of my knees and ability, or be like, it's been a phenomenal journey. I've learned a ton. Let me go and pursue something else in life now. Got back to London. All my friends at that point were obviously like deep in the kind of like the raving drug scene. Not obviously, but they were. And then that's what I fell straight into. So I dabbled when I was younger. Drugs were a part of my life kind of temporarily when I was in the wrong circles. Moved to Spain. That was eradicated from the person that I was. Came home. And for the next kind of year or so, just a massive bubble of socializing, drugs, alcohol. And people often talk about that in a negative way, but I never had a bad experience. Like, I loved it, had a great time, made some phenomenal friends through it that I still have now, even though my life obviously is very different now, and that's not who I am. And at a certain point, I was like, mate, like, you're 20 now, you're out doing pills a few nights a week. What are you doing? Sort it out. You were this athlete who was like really passionate about fitness and health and mindset. Now you're spending most of your time out doing drugs, like, sort your shit out kind of thing. And at that point, I thought, okay, what do I like? I like fitness. I'm into health. I'm into mindset. Read some books and got into PT. And at that point, when I started PTing, I wasn't really sure around like what the systems were. You know, I knew that someone would give me some money and I would help get them fitter and stronger. But I used to charge, it's crazy, £40 for 3 hours. So 3 sessions of an hour for £40. And I'd cycle from North London to Hammersmith, coach my mate Sam in pure gym without a PT qualification. And then eventually got caught, got found out as being a PT, and then got banned from the gym. Oh, no. From there, found my own space in a church hall and built out the career path from there.
Wow. Yeah. What a journey.
Yeah, it was. And when I think about it now, it's like, again, with the drug thing, like, I think people often talk about that as if they're in a really negative space. And of course, there weren't all positive situations, and, you know, I'm not doing any of that stuff now, but at the same time, it's what I needed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's okay to admit that, like, that was fun for a period of your life.
Totally.
Obviously, people can take it too far. And I think if that's what your life looks like for most of your like teenage years and early adulthood, then maybe you need to make some changes there. But you enjoyed that time, as you said, like, you made friends, you learnt lessons from it, and maybe if you hadn't gone through that period, you wouldn't have then like felt an urge to like move on to something else and like pursue something that you were passionate about. So I think it absolutely has a place, and that's okay. I think the same from my gap year when I did a ski season, and it mainly involved a lot of like drinking and going out, and I wouldn't want to do that now, but that was so much fun, like best 6 months of my life.
Yeah,
so
totally.
That's okay.
100%.
I'll look back on it with like fond memories. But let's dig into a bit more of like the fitness side of things. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions about men's health and well-being?
Ooh, big question. I love it.
Big question.
Let's pick a couple. I think the first one is misconceptions that you have to go all in. Mm-hmm. I feel like we create as humans this gap between like, this is where I am, this is where I want to get to, and we create this massive disparity between where we are, where we want to get to, rather than thinking, this is where I am, I want to move in that kind of direction. All I've got to do is take a small step. That's much more conducive with taking the leap. It's a very small leap. And social media is phenomenal. I've made some great friends through social media. I built my business through social media, but there are definitely negative sides to it. And I think the comparison game can remind you hundreds of times a day that said person is way, way, way ahead of where you can be.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't show is that they were where you are. In fact, they were behind you when you were back as well. And it can, I think, give the illusion that we have to go ham right now. I have to get all the junk food out of my house, get a gym membership, get a psychotherapist, download 30 podcasts, buy 15 books, and do it all yesterday. That might last for a few days, right? I'm super motivated. I listen to a podcast. I'm like, yeah, let's go, Goggins style. Fast forward a week, you wake up, you've had a bad night's sleep, you have a tough conversation at work or with your partner, and you're like, fuck this. And I think the more times that happens, the more it reminds you that you can't back yourself. You can't follow through with what you said you would do after the motivation drifts into the past happens very quickly. So if guys, just talking about primarily men here, but obviously humans, just took a step back and been like, what's one thing I can do now? Just start drinking water before coffee. Is it going to change your life? Obviously not. Is going to the gym for one workout this week and change your life? Obviously not. But if last week you did no workouts and for the next month you do one a week, then you do 2 a week. Fast forward 6 months, your life is so different because you've done it sustainably. And I think that it's a really dangerous cycle to get into, thinking that you have to do it all now. And the more of the content like that you watch, the more it creates the illusion in your head that without doing that, you'll make no progression. That's the first one. Second one, I think, is that aesthetics are top of the pyramid. Like the time that I was in the best shape on paper in my life was by far the time that I was worse up here between my own ears and my brain with my mindset and kind of where I was at. And again, like you and I can look at someone and say phenomenal physique, male or female, and we know it requires discipline to get there and it requires sacrifice. But what you don't see in a photo is the weeks, months, years or decades of, I would personally call it from my own experience, damage that happens between your ears because you prioritize physique at the expense of all else. Relationships with yourself, with people, with food, etc. Your mindset, the way of life, everything else. So I think those two, not to give too many, you don't have to go all in. You just have to start right now. And don't put your physique at top of the pyramid because yes, it's important. Like I personally want to look good. I would guess you want to look good as well, but alongside feeling good, performing good, and just being full of vitality 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Or most days of the week.
Yeah, really interesting. And that's something I wanted to discuss with you because I know you've shared some content on social media about not just obsessing over aesthetic goals. And I feel like for men particularly, we don't talk about the mental impact that chasing these aesthetic goals can have. You know, you hear it a lot with women about this toxic diet culture and the unrealistic expectations that are placed on, you know, how women's bodies should look, etc. But actually, it can be the same for men if you are chasing this athletic, muscular, lean physique. You might look great, but you might not feel your best. And you said that for years you worried too much about how you looked and that, yeah, you looked shredded on paper, but actually you were kind of miserable. So how did you move away from just focusing on the aesthetics goals?
I think as well, just to kind of extract what you said, it's so true. And I think if more guys that were that looked, like you said, athletic and muscular, spoke about the sacrifice that they've been willing to endure to get to where they are, it would make it more real. Whereas a lot of guys, I can speak from my experience, I used to make out like it was so easy to get in good shape. And I would talk about a sacrifice, but more to sound motivational. Rather than being like, I've fucking struggled a lot to get here, it's not worth it. I would make, because I didn't want to admit that to myself, I'd make out like it is worth it. And that I would say it was tough to sound like I'm a man rather than it was tough to be like, I've struggled quite a lot to get here.
Of course, yeah.
So I think to answer your question, was it how did I move away from aesthetics? Firstly, again, like awareness, noticing like, dude, you've got a bit of an issue here. Like every reflection that came into my presence, I could not look at myself. And kind of like, it was almost look at yourself, but then criticize yourself. It was never like, yeah, you look good. It's like, you look all right, but you could have X. Shoulders could be bigger, could be more lean, could be more kind of like in a V taper. And then I think just from realizing that people I was around, that was their thing. Like being around a lot of bodybuilders, you're getting paid to look a certain way, right?
Yeah, of course.
More muscle, less fat. I never competed at all, but people who do, that is their livelihood. So I just thought, let me just like extract myself from this environment and be around people who prioritize performance. If you want to win a 5K run, no one really cares how you look. What's your time? I don't even care anything about you. I don't care how nice you are. I don't care how hard you train. I want to know what your time is if someone's performance-based. So putting myself in rooms with more of those people, and then also creating some performance-based goals for myself, like to get 30 strict pull-ups, this was years ago, meant that I was prioritizing my performance and my recovery to get 30 pull-ups rather than creating this arbitrary goal of like, get a bigger chest. Because then you get a bigger chest or you hit the physique you think you want and you realize empty. Like, it's like when you set a financial goal, hit it, close the laptop, you're like, that gave me literally nothing. So again, being aware, put myself in the right rooms with the right people that prioritize the things that I wanted to prioritize more of, and just started to say to myself, like, you need to get out of the situation because you're going out for a burger and chips with your mate or going out for a meal with my partner at the time. And in my head being like, fucking hell, how many calories are in this? Or like, oh, I shouldn't really be eating the chips. Okay, actually, no, I'll just do an extra cardio session tomorrow morning. And I'll be like, no, I'll just do actually an extra 2 cardio sessions this week. And I noticed this dialogue happening of like, you can do this thing, that's fine, but then you're going to pay the price. Otherwise, you're going to be below zero.
Yeah.
And it was a journey, but it's one worth getting out of, my opinion, because otherwise, like, you're just chasing your tail the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah, if you view fitness as a means to an end, and the end being having this ideal physique, I don't think that it's that sustainable because, as you say, at one point it might be, oh, I want to get bigger biceps. You get bigger biceps, and you're like, no, I want a bigger chest. No, I want a leaner stomach. I want to have more visible abs. Like, it kind of is never ending. And obviously with social media and this comparison, like, it just exacerbates that massively because you're always going to like compare yourself to people and view yourself as inferior to them in some way. And
Totally.
I was reading something this morning actually that I found quite interesting, and it said that if you obsess too much about how you look in terms of fitness, it's normally because you don't have anything else to base your self-worth off. And that might not be a conscious thing, right? But as you were saying, maybe if you can make that shift towards performance-based goals, like if you enjoy running, can you get better at running and work towards like a PB or something? Or even if it's not fitness related, like how do you view your self-worth as a person? Like, are you a good friend? Are you a good boyfriend or girlfriend or daughter? Or, you know, are you really talented at like another area? Like, I think it's about not just pinning everything on how you look, and actually looking at other aspects of your life and your personality as well.
I like that a lot. And that reminds me of a quote that I heard, which is, desire is the contract of misery that you sign with yourself. And obviously desires are, you know, they're part of life and it's not bad to have them, but it stuck out to me because it's like, when you say, I will not be happy till I get to this point, whatever it is in life, but if we're talking about physique, when you get there, we've all set enough goals in life, small or big, achieve them and realize that we're still not happy. But it's almost this perpetuating cycle of like thinking that the next goal I set and reach, that will make me happy. Deep down, we know if we don't change the metrics of success, like you just mentioned, we're just chasing our tail. And it's like, I think being honest with yourself about why you want to achieve a certain goal. Like, as you said, you feel inferior. If a man walks into a room, this is my opinion, and you feel athletic and you feel muscular and you feel on paper like a man, I held myself with more confidence because I was like, I'm manly, I'm masculine, I'm muscly, I do the work on myself to look this way. No one cares how you look, you know, and people obviously might say to someone, you look great, or you put on muscle, or you've lost weight. And obviously it feels good. Like, we're humans, we like to hear good things about ourselves, and that's fine. But again, knowing, who am I as a person? What value do I bring to the world? Like, if you couldn't see me, would you still know me? Would you still want to talk to me? And I think It's, again, all about being honest with yourself about what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're in that cycle of just doing it to impress who?
It's such a balance, I think, because I do care about how I look. I'll admit that I want to look healthy, I want to look strong. And I know that when I'm in a good routine and I'm being disciplined with the gym and I'm eating good and living a healthy lifestyle, I know that I show up as a better person to those around me. But at the same time, I know that my friends don't value me for my glutes or my abs or my quads or how much body fat I have. Like, I know that. So I think it's getting the balance right of how can you feel good within yourself without just chasing the aesthetic goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I really agree with that. And it's like you said, I want to look good, 100%. I want to look in the mirror and feel confident. One, it's part of my job. But more importantly than that, when I'm in good shape, it's a representation of, like, it's like James Clear says from Atomic Habits, everything is lagging. It's kind of a lagging effect. So, like, the way that you look now is go back 6 months. How have you trained? How have you eaten? How have you recovered? It shows that you've been disciplined. But I think that can get championed sometimes. People are like, yeah, when I see someone in good shape, I respect them because they're disciplined and they're consistent. But what are they sacrificing?
Absolutely.
And it's finding, like you said, that word is, where's the balance of you're in good shape, but not at the expense of all else. And like losing, if I lost another 2 kilos now, or if someone said their goal was to lose two more kilos to be leaner, cool, but like, what's that going to give you? Like, if you're someone severely overweight and there's health implications, for sure, let's get you to a healthy weight ASAP, using different tools. But when it's just about leaning up a little bit, to not go out with your pals for a meal or your partner, or to get a pastry and a coffee on a Sunday and feel guilty, let's look at your emotional health, your physical health, your social connections, and let's find that like really happy point in the middle of the Venn diagram where you can do it all, have it all and be it all, rather than prioritizing one thing at the expense of all else.
Absolutely. It kind of leads me on to talk about something that you also shared on social media, which is the cost of inaction. And I remember when I first heard this, I think it was from Chris Williamson, it really opened my mind up to new ways of thinking, because obviously if you're on this self-improvement journey, you're constantly thinking about the things that you can change to better yourself. And I think we all have parts of our life where we want to improve something and pursue something, but it can feel like something's holding us back. And I often think that's out of fear or risk that things won't work out. But you said something I thought was great, which is, if you were to fast forward 12 months and you were to be in the same place, if that doesn't scare you a bit, then you know that you should take action. Just wondered if you could expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's so many mental models that people can use, and over the more that we can be aware of our internal dialogue that happens unconsciously, the more we can reframe the way that we think things and understand our triggers and our insecurities and essentially what holds us back. You know, when you hear someone say, get out your own way, for me, that's what they mean, is like the voice inside your head, which isn't your conscious voice. That's what's in your way. It's not the fact you haven't got the resources or the tools. It's the fact that something inside you is stopping you move forward, like you're stuck in the mud. And if I said to you, if you talk to me about a big goal you want to go and achieve, or something you want to lean into, take the jump. And it's like, what if you fall? But what if you fly? You might fall 10 times out of 11, or 10 times out of 10 you might fall, but 1 time out of 10 you might fly. And backing yourself to lean into something is the only way to discover what you can achieve. Everyone can get haunted by the anxiety cost, thinking, should I do this thing? It's going to be hard. Let me think about it tomorrow. Fast forward next Monday, the same conversations in your head. Should I do it? What if I annoy that person? What are they going to think? What if I fail? What if I do really well, but then I get found out? Rather than being like, mate, just make the fucking choice. Think about it. And in the next hour, you're making a choice. Put a deadline. Otherwise, fast forward not only a week, but like you said, fast forward 12 months, you will be in the exact same position thinking, should I, shouldn't I? And you'll beat yourself up. And again, social media in comparison reminds us that everyone's doing really well. But when you see someone take off in their field, whether it's in any area of life, there are so many failures that you have not seen, whether you haven't looked, they haven't talked about them or whatever, which were the prerequisite, and they were the runway to getting to where they are. I say to everyone, like, put a deadline in place, get a piece of paper out, pros, cons, make a choice, back yourself, and lean into it. And then eradicate all of the chit chat in your head, because you're going to doubt the decision. You're going to think, could I have changed it? Oh, that conversation I had, should I have said this thing? It's done. Crack on. And a little kind of small segue from that, or kind of separate tone. I had a chat with a friend yesterday in fact. He had a car accident 2 days ago, hit black ice. Absolute miracle. He flipped 3 times, woke up upside down. If he hears this, big up yourself. The witness said, yeah, he saw the car flip 3 times. His weight was on the seatbelt, so he couldn't unclip the seatbelt. Did some sort of pull-up motion, unclipped it, crawled out, unscathed. Life is so precious. Like, life is so fucking precious. In the blink of an eye, anything can happen to you, to a loved one. So just make the choice. And, you know, it's not to get morbid, but like, I might walk out here and a bus comes on the curb, boom, finito. How many things could I have done that I haven't done over the last few years that have been haunting me every single day with the anxiety cost? And just being really real with ourselves. Like, there's one day in this world that something's going to happen and we're no longer here. Everything is borrowed. Stop chasing like the big paycheck, or like the validation, or someone saying that you're doing well. Do it for yourself. And I think the true way to build confidence is to follow through with what you said you would do. And that, for me, like that example of my friend 2 days ago, is like, life is precious.
Yeah.
So use the time that you have here wisely.
And sometimes I think it almost takes something like that to happen for us to have that realization. But I think if people can make that sooner, before they're involved in a near fatal car crash, then that's so, so important. And it's part of why I love doing this podcast, is because I'm having conversations with people who are doing the thing. And I find it so inspiring. But with all the stories people have shared, there's been a point where they were really uncertain of, should I follow this path? Like, very recently, I had a guy called George on, who's set up a cinnamon bun company selling cinnamon rolls in London, and it's just taken off. But that came from a little idea he had and a lot of bravery and courage to just do the thing. And he wasn't a baker. He couldn't bake. He didn't know how to run a business. He basically started from nothing, but he's built it into something that's really impressive. And one of his key messages was just get out your own way, just commit to yourself and commit to this idea. And I think if you are sat on something, maybe it's a business you want to start, or like a fitness journey, or I don't know, relocating somewhere, like, you have that in you for a reason. Like, there is that voice or that desire that's kind of been planted. And I think if you stay stuck in this cycle of, oh, should I, shouldn't I, like, that can just go on for so long. And I feel like we end up talking ourselves out of it. Whereas if we can just take a little step, like, start with action.
Totally. And you have to be willing, like, what are the regrets you're willing to have? Like, I would much rather, here's an example actually. So we founded Robots in 2019, right? And like, I was part of the team prior to that, obviously building out the whole business and the plans. The first class that I coached, I'd never coached a class outside of a church hall. I've done my PT, I had my own boot camp. I'd never been in the Central London boutique scene, but I was put in that situation. It's like, you're the senior coach. So here's the mic. There's no ifs or buts. And there was a consequence. If I'd have been like, I can't do it, and run upstairs, the consequence of, really in the moment, would have been embarrassment, and the gym wouldn't have opened if I refused to coach, forced me to do it. If I was sitting at home like, shall I do a boot camp? I might do next year. There's no consequence.
Yeah.
So sometimes, to your point there, the lesson from that I took away is like, be around those people more. Your cinnamon bun guy. I need to find the link for that after, by the way. I might go try one.
So
be in the room with those people. Create consequences. Create accountability by saying to your friend, Ruby, look, I'm going to do this thing every single Monday. Hold me accountable. Ping me a message. Just a bit of pride of you saying to me, Pele, have you done that thing? And I'm like, oh, no. That dent in my pride. And that's when I think using your ego is a positive thing. I want to be able to say, yes, Ruby, I'm smashing it. So creating accountability, creating consequence, putting deadlines in place means that you are making it less likely that you're going to sit on what you're sitting on, because risk is a powerful thing, and it can force us to be stuck in the mud. But the cost of inaction, the anxiety cost, for me, weighs heavier than leaning into something and it not going well.
You also shared a quote that I thought was great, which is you can move from mediocre to good in increments. The real gap is between doing nothing and doing something. And I think that is so true, because with this podcast, obviously I always use it as an example, but once you start recording episodes and putting out episodes, you learn things, you build your confidence, you see small progress, and that is so motivating, helps you build momentum. But the gap between, oh, I kind of want to start a podcast and actually launching it is much greater.
I totally agree with that. My brain was going off there on something else about what you just said, but it's so true. Like, I was thinking there, I heard do you know Ali Abdaal?
Yeah.
So essentially what he's saying is, until you're an expert, don't worry about the nuanced details. He was talking about writing a book. He's got his book, Feel Good Productivity. And he was saying, just do it for you. If you say, I'm going to record 50 episodes this year for myself, it's enjoyable. You can iterate. You can learn, okay, I need to get a better mic, better camera, do this, have them shorter. You iterate over the year, right? And you improve. But do that for you, rather than, I'm going to release one now, I only got 10 views. If it's for them, then you're always there moving the goalposts. You can't control if someone watches your episode, but you can control booking in a slot of a studio, turning up, getting a guest, recording it, clicking post, boom, one, phenomenal tick. And I think sometimes going from 0 to 5 can be more motivating and purpose driven than 5 to 10, because most people are at 0. So for you to go from 0 to 5 is phenomenal. And when you get there, you might realize, I don't want to go to 10. I just want to keep having guests that I really want, rather than, for example, someone could say, when I get X number of subscribers, I'm going to upgrade my studio and try and get sponsorships. Someone could say, no, I really enjoy having great conversations. And again, I think it opens up new doors, new conversations, and it can open doors for personal or professional that weren't already there. So again, it goes back to like the first point around, you haven't got to go all in. You just got to do something, and preferably do it today.
Yeah. Great advice. Absolutely. Like, you can't control the outcome, but you can control the inputs. And I think that's really important. Same with fitness, like, it relates back to it. We spoke earlier about men's fitness and well-being, and I want to circle back to that, because I know you have done a few of these men's wellness events, and I know you've got another one coming up. Why have you decided to sort of bring a community of men together in real life? And
it's so funny, isn't it? Like, post-COVID now, IRL was never like a term before, because it was obvious, whereas now it's like real life. So in a sentence, I'm building exactly what I wish I had access to. So to go back to the first sentence I said in this podcast around doing everything but getting no progress, I want to streamline the process for guys to get from where they are to where they want to get to, and bring all these elements and facets under one roof of training in different modalities, whether it's strength, endurance, mobility, recovery, whether it's breath work, meditation, mindfulness, hot and cold, etc., nutrition, and growth through workshops, open conversations, interactive seminars and panel talks. Putting those things under one roof for me is slowly but surely creating a hub that guys can come to and they can leave better than when they arrived. Because I think it's so easy to have all these different sections of life within the fitness world. You go to this place for your fitness, this place for your meditation, or this app, this place for your nutrition advice. But can we put it under one roof? Because by default, we're going to get many guys in the same room who have shared values. And I think the tectonic plate under all of this stuff we've chatted about is your environment. And if you're not the architect of your environment, the world will choose it for you. And you don't choose where you're born. Most kids don't choose where they go to school. But when you get to a certain age, you have power over who you're around day to day. Maybe at your job, you've got a few people you don't get on with, but when you leave work, who are you around? And I want to create an environment that, one, I can learn in, and I can interact and connect with really awesome guys in different kind of fields of life. But two, guy A can come and meet guy B. They can then go out for a coffee, go for a workout, and they can start to build out their own kind of team of inspiring humans in their life. And to our point earlier around taking the leap and doing the thing, when you're around inspiring, motivating, optimistic people, the chance that you will take the leap in any area of your life are so much higher. So for me, it's like, online is powerful and there's a lot of value to be had from following the right people, and I think absorbing the right knowledge but implementing it. But you can't be in person. You know, humans were built on in-person connection and in-person interaction, and you can't beat a sweaty high five or a real eye contact compared to a phone call or a Zoom exponentially better. So that's a bit the reason why. And as it grows, I'm like, for the last 2 events, I've looped in some experts in their own fields. I want to bring powerful guys into the room to deliver their service, whether it's breath work or a workout or a panel talk, because men need to be around other good men. And it's crazy when you remove, not when you remove it, when you have men in the room, a level of ego just drops. Because it's like, you're here for you. Yeah, we're going to do a tough workout. Then we're going to sit down and someone's going to say, fucking hell, this week's been real tough. And then someone else can be like, you know what, mate, I've gone through that as well. And you leave and you think, okay, it's not just me. Yeah. And really creating a space where guys can look, feel and perform, again, better tomorrow than they do today.
It sounds great. And I think it is really needed, because I think the self-improvement space, the wellness space, it can feel quite individual. And, you know, if you are on a journey of wanting to better yourself, a lot of the things that you do are also in isolation, you know, going to the gym, doing your workouts. Maybe if you have also looked into breath work and meditation, that's also stuff that you do on your own. And actually, if you can find people who also do those behaviors and who share your values and share your mindset, then I think you'll just like maximize those benefits. And it's funny as well, I think you mentioned there about like the egos kind of drop when you get people in a room together. And I had a previous guest on the podcast who is, his whole life's kind of the gym and that's what he's passionate about. But I remember him saying that he wants to outwork his competition, and like he's in the gym when other people are out partying. And I understand that to a degree, but at the same time, who is your competition? Like, maybe it's about creating a community and being with people who also like doing what you want to do. It's not just you against everyone else. It's kind of bringing people together in like a shared space of improvement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because someone asked me a while ago, like, how much did you make from your first 2 events? And I'm like, for those 2, I lost money.
Yeah.
Having content creators there or videographers, getting the venue, having some socks and stuff. And it left me thinking, like, why am I doing this? I'm like, what is the mission? People are like, but where are you driving them? What are they buying? What's the product? Whereas for now, there is no product. Obviously, I'm an online coach and I've got my one-to-one clients, and some of them come to the events, but some of them want to be just one-to-one online and keep themselves to themselves. But it's exactly what you said. It's facilitating space. When Robots opened and I was head coach, there was a period where my ego was massive. I was like, I'm walking the room. I'm the gaffer here. These coaches work under me. And I realized pretty quickly, like, we can't scale this business that I'm a co-founder of unless I'm almost the worst coach here, because I want everyone to outshine me, because if there's one Pele or 20 coaches, which one's more scalable? And all that to say, with these events, like, I'm hosting them, but I'm just facilitating the space. It's not me delivering the workout, me delivering a talk, I'm like welcoming everyone, facilitating space for guys to connect, because the competition is you yesterday. Yeah. I don't really give a fuck where someone else is, because, bro, that's your life. And again, like, my life's precious as yours is. And if I'm not maximizing my time on this planet, what am I doing? And I think going through a stage when I've been around a lot of people who are very successful financially in their career through, you know, PTing high net worth individuals, I started to realize, like, a lot of money literally solves money problems. You got a nicer car, you got more Rolexes, you got a bigger house, you got more swimming pools in your house. Awesome. But you're turning up, you're tired, you're miserable, you got health issues, you don't want to be around your partner, you complain about your kids, you have no social life. Just have more zeros in your account. So I think it's been a real perspective shift of, like, my competition is the person that I was yesterday, rather than it can be very easy to, I think, to just be like, to inflate your ego and chase something. But again, it's like, what for?
That's really, really good advice. And I definitely agree with that. And I think it's difficult sometimes when you're doing something and there's not an immediate return on investment. Like with these events, people are like, well, how much money are you making? But it's like, you're doing it to have a positive impact on other people. And I think if that's what drives the work that you do, then that's such a good thing to want to pursue. So much I could ask you, but I am going to ask you my final question, which is, if you had to give one piece of advice to help people achieve their personal best, what would it be?
Oh, my brain now. ADHD brain's like.
Well, we spoke about so much. I feel like it could be anything.
I would say destroy and rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Be willing to destroy who you are right now and rebuild, because I think what got you here probably won't get, or most definitely won't get you there. And I think it's very tempting to get stuck in your ways, recycle systems, recycle habits, recycle who you were yesterday, but be willing to destroy who you are, rethink things in a new way, be around new people, take the leap, do something new. Otherwise, you're living yesterday's life. And it can be very easy, in my opinion, to get stuck in like, this is who I am, these are my principles, these are my philosophies. But I think you have to be open to new ways of thinking, new environments, new systems, new goals, and new people. And for that to happen, you have to be willing to destroy your yesterday and rebuild for tomorrow.
Yeah, love that. And it's about reshaping your identity. And yeah, that doesn't mean you have to kind of change absolutely everything all at once. But James Clear says every action you take is a vote for the person you want to be. And so if your actions kind of match your intentions in who you want to become and how you want to improve yourself, then that's just a recipe for success.
Totally. And that destroy can be staggered over a year. It hasn't got to be like go all in tomorrow. But I think be willing to, rebuild the bricks from the ground up. And like we said, to the last point I'll say is, fast forward 12 months, your life could literally be, it could be so far removed from what it is now, your brain can't even compute it. It's not even in your psyche. So take the leap, destroy and rebuild.
Perfect. Pele, thank you so much. Where can people go if they want to find you, inquire about coaching, etc.?
Got something beta release soon, but I'm not going to say it just now because I don't know when this podcast will drop. But for now, Instagram. So Pele, Pele.Zac, Z-A-C. Hit me up. Any questions you have, any events you want to come to, any coaching inquiries, and we can go from there.
Thank you. Someone said to me recently, they were like, I'm sure his name's Zac. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been calling him Pele for ages.
I get it all the time. Hey, Zac. I'm like, no, it's Pele.
Pele. Okay, good. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
That was awesome. Thank you.